It's hard copy. Hard copy is a presentation of the McKinney Media Group, copyrights 2016, all rights reserved. The views, statements, and opinions of guests expressed on this show does not necessarily reflect the views of the host, sponsors, or operators of this radio station. No part of this program may be copied or reproduced in full or in part without the express written consent of the producers, the McKinney Media Group. This is Hard Copy on the McKinney Broadcasting Radio Network, and Hard Copy seeks to lay out the facts in simple fashion for the inclusion of all Bahamians and Bahamians at heart. The focus every day to move forthright in our manner, to build a progressive and developing country. Our desire is for a Bahamas with a competent, skillful, and productive workforce. We want a country that can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant visionary action plan, ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We also encourage like-minded Bahamians just like you to participate with intelligent and honest contributions. After all, we have a country to build, we the people. We've got jobs and industry to create, people to inspire and empower, and generations of born and unborn Bahamians. We the people must protect and plan for, and if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy, we talk a whole lot about those issues that continue to be a thorn in our side, as well as those people who may be going to court. What are we going to do about it? Will there be a noli prosequi? This is Hard Copy.
One low payment.
It is Tuesday, the 8th day of the month of March, 2016. Time just marching on, right? As you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic, we have fair skies for you this evening and 77 degrees. It's warm and sunny on the outside, by the way. And of course, 69 degrees for the night's low with a 10% rain chance in the forecast. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy. We have brought you today by National Insurance Board, doing a whole lot to improve the situation for Bahamians everywhere. Nassau Motor Company, listen up, there's a recall on certain cars. They'll tell you who and what and why. Commonwealth Bank, they're the bank of Bahamians approving Bahamians, is what they say. And Bahamas Music Heritage Festival, Genco Batteries, Ministry of Tourism, Nassau Dance Company, Kalina Insurance for comprehensive coverage, Bahamas Foot on Blake Road. Also, Super Wash with 10 locations, Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions, Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarket, McKinney Media Group, Advantage Insurance and Brokers, Ron's Electric Motors, Sky Bahamas, Kalina Financial Advisors Limited, CFAL, Executive Printers, Buddy's Seafood Wings and Grains, Henry F. Store, New Oriental Laundry, and Le Bleu Ultra Pure Drinking Water. When the gates came tumbling down the other day, or the fence somehow was brought down, nobody thought that the people would have retaliated and have so many people arrested. Well, those arrested people, they are on bail, police bail in many cases. They expect to go to court on Thursday. And when they do go to court, there's a thinking and a groundswell of support for people to accompany them to court, since they, as vendors and protesters, were arrested with the alleged charge of, well, the charge there, and the charges alleged that they tore down the gate, tore down the fence. But most people see that as Bahamians being attacked by others who would like to keep Bahamians off the beach. Some believe off Paradise Island, but off the beach for sure. And this is an attack on all Bahamians, is what is being coined in the Bahamian public these days. And so there's a support, a groundswell of support for people to support the individuals who go to court on Thursday morning, and to show big numbers to support them, because this can't be right. Some believe that if this goes unchallenged by just showing the disapproval, by gathering, much more worse is to come, is what people believe. But at the same time, lawyers are beginning to mount an argument that, you know what, since the government had been so slack in the first place and allowed land to be conveyed to a new owner without challenging the fact that there is a right of way, some call it an easement, but really a right of way for people to access the beach, then the government should do everything in their power to neutralize these charges. And the only way that can happen is if, as one lawyer put it today, the Attorney General's office steps in and decides that these cases are not going to go anywhere by a noli posse qui. Now, I know that's a whole stretch. Of course, this means no case to answer. I don't know, but I can tell you it's a wonderful opportunity for the Perry Christie administration to show what they're made of and to show whose side they are on. Now, I don't know if they have the evidence, and that's one of the concerns that will be considered by the Attorney General's office for any kind of action as a noli posse qui. No case to answer. Is there evidence? Is there a case to answer? But from a political point of view, it is being advanced and advocated by those who are contrary to these charges and oppose them with all their might. But the government got a chance to get out of this by doing the right thing, they call it, making sure that the Attorney General's office sees it for what it is, that these people are really innocent protesters who were protesting, and you know, really, they didn't really cause any real damage, did they? All of this is now becoming very political, from the owner's point of view, from the politician's point of view, and now from the Bahamian people who are saying, let's see what our government will do. Let's see what they will do. They will be marked and measured by their actions. In this particular case that happens on Thursday morning, I think they've got about 3 or 4 of them in custody who goes before the courts, charged with, Bahamian term, yanking down the gate, yucking down the gate, yucking out the fence. No laughing matter for those families who have been very much concerned and perturbed about it, since they were being picked up over the weekend and the police were said to be looking for them. Now, of course, a couple of local lawyers are believing this is all tactics of intimidation, and it's getting to a boiling point. We're going to let you hear some of that today, as well as some other things of interest, that we keep the focus on the things that we should be focused on, friends, really. I mean, there's so many other things that we can talk about, I know, but we need to keep the focus on the things that are very important. The Prime Minister, of course, just as a note, and I'm not going to get into it, made his what you call the address to Parliament midterm budget. Basically telling us nothing new, nothing that we don't know. There's some things that may be of interest, but it's not of a priority right now. We're going to get to that. What's of a priority right now is that the Bahamian Way is being threatened. The beach access is being threatened. I believe they're going to take that beach from all Bahamians. And I believe that the new owners of that property will have their way, because the government seemed to be tripping up over itself on what they ought to do. And so today we put that on the table for your consideration on this Tuesday, as we put a number of other things on the table. One of those things that we put on the table is the statements by Dr. Myles Munroe, the late great Dr. Myles Munroe, who talked about this homophobia claim and the whole thing about Bill number 4. We're going to let you hear what he had to say. And others who have been speaking on that, because that is a concern. They say that's not a big concern. They, meaning the powers that be, the government. Proponents of these bills say it's all hogwash, but there are a number of people who have major concerns about it. And we are going to give you as much information as we can prior to bringing those officials in, so when they come in, they can speak succinctly to these matters of interest that the Bahamian people have. Welcome to the show. You can follow us on Instagram, HardCopy242. Like us on Facebook, HardCopy. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. And watch us live on Google+. Just go to the link from our Facebook page, and there you have us. You can also get us on TuneIn Radio. And that's by going to TuneIn Radio. Any iPad, iPhone, Android, you can get us there. Anywhere in the world, you can get us on cable top box anywhere around the country. 970, the World Wide Web, peace1075.com. And if you want to, you can participate right now by calling us at 325-023506, 325-0242 and 325-0252 or 53. You can also send us WhatsApp, and you can send us messages, text messages at 376-9234. Let's stay focused, friends. That's what we're doing this week. We're staying focused on the issues that are very important to the direction that we're going to take in this country. And so you can be a part of our conversation at 376-9234. Don't forget, too, also on the agenda today, and I have a guest coming in a short time from now. Cleva is going to join me, Cleva Duncan. We're going to be talking a whole lot, too, about his understanding and give him a voice to express himself on the gender equality bills, the 4 of them. He has an interest in one in particular that he will share with you as well today. And you can also be a part of the conversation by having your say about the many things that we are in fact focused on this week, that we are talking about. These things are too important to just brush and touch and run as we've been doing. Not when I say we, I'm talking collective we, the media, going after the next hot story. And all these guys in charge of the country has to do is flip the script and give us something else to talk about, and we go on after that. But on this particular occasion, that court case comes up. You got to pay attention to that. That's going to set the tone as to what can happen for you futuristically, not just the vendors, but Bahamians and the beach access to Paradise Island. It's going to set the tone, because a lot of stuff may unfold in the next coming days. Let me take this call. Hard Copy, how are you?
Hey, Steve. Good afternoon to you and the Bahamian people.
Peace. All is well. Thank you. Good afternoon. I can't hear him. Hello? Is he there? I don't know what happened there. Okay, so call us back. It'd be wonderful if you call us back. 325-023506, 325-0242 or 43, 325-0235 or 36 is how you can call us here on the show today and be a part of our conversation. But I've really got some good little caveats of sound bites for you today. Are you ready for them? I've got some wonderful pieces here I've got something from Guess Who. Apart from Dr. Miles Monroe, I've got a nice soundbite from, oh, where did I put that soundbite? I've got it from Justice Ruby Nottage. And Justice Ruby Nottage talked about a whole lot of things recently when she was on this show. And I've got her telling us about the importance of sex in Article 26, something that you'll be interested in. And I've also got her talking about Aaron Green's position on the bills helping the LGBT community. Now, these are things that she said prior to the passage. This is during the campaign for the passage of these bills, which she worked very hard on, her and a team of people. And I think it's all going to be a part of the conversation so that we can put things in context. Hot Copy, how are you?
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Peace, all is well.
Amazing. Every time I call, I get disconnected by the powers that be. Can you have Dr. Donaldson, you know Dr. Donaldson? And Aaron Green come on the show simultaneously? I'd love to hear that debate.
Mm-hmm.
One more thing. Steve, what are the best beaches on the island of New Providence?
I don't know.
Island, not PI.
What are the best beaches? All of the beaches are the best beaches.
Well, some are a little bit sandier and safer than others. Let me tell you the two best beaches on New Providence. They're not Goodman Bay or South Beach where the locals are allowed to go. They're Old Fort Bay and Lyford Key Beach. Steve, can you, I've looked on Google Earth because I'm not allowed behind the gate. Can you go behind the gate and walk the beach and tell me where the public access is to the two best beaches on New Providence that most Bahamians have never laid eyes on?
There is none.
But why not, Steve? There's supposed to be a right-of-way.
Well, there is a right-of-way.
There's an access to those two beaches for locals?
There's supposed to be on law. In law, there's one as far as the planning of that area is concerned, but where exactly it is anybody's guess.
Maybe we can invite some people from the Old Fort Bay Association, Lyford Key Association, or maybe some parliamentarians to tell Bahamians how we can get there. Here's a recommendation. See, instead of $2 a head for a taxi to go over to PI, and we need to have at least 3 accesses to that beach as well, especially down by the new cove where there is no access. But why don't we have the tourists for $40 a head? Why don't we have the cab drivers for $40 a head take the cruise ship tourists to Old Fort Bay and Lyford Key, a nice scenic drive along the water. They can stop to Nesbitt for some Bahamian food, and they can stop and get some daiquiris and go to those 2 safe beaches because Lyford Key and Old Fort Bay have security. So we wouldn't be getting the tourists harassed and robbed. And the taxi cabs would be making about $500 going and $500 coming on an 18-seater full of tourists. You see, that's how I just promoted more money for the cab drivers, a safer stay for the tourists, and I need the Bahamian access. And this is going to brush over, but we're not allowed to go to the beach now. Remember, we're not allowed to go in the casino, right? 200 years after emancipation, 42 years after independence, Steve, you and I, 2 different shades of Bahamian, not allowed to go in our own casino and take the dollar and win 50,000. No, we're allocated to the back of the bus to take our dollar and win 700, eh?
Well, you know, we with you, the Bahamian people hear you all the time. We don't disagree with you, but I've got an assignment for you. You know, I'm right now struggling with all this research and stuff that I'm doing. It's really a lot of work, but I'll tell you this. I want to appoint you to go and find the beach access for Old Fort Bay and Lyford Key Beach so that we can see if, in fact, when they gave those 2 entities their own enclave, that they sold everything, including the access to those beaches, to those companies as well, because that would be quite a thing. And you see, this is how the others are going to be very concerned now. If this thing with Paradise Island comes to a head, they're going to be very concerned now because there are a group of lawyers now, I can tell you and assure you, sitting down, looking at the map, going over where these accesses used to be and these public right-of-ways, and they're not so sure what's there now. In one case, I know for a fact that there's a big wall.
Well, let me mash a corn for you. I ain't gonna call no names, But I grew up in the Village Road area. And when we had a problem at Montague, remember when there was a problem at Montague with the program?
Yep.
And we redeveloped it?
Mhm.
And we did it so poorly because when you park your car now and you eat your chicken for lunch, you look at the road, you don't look at the beach.
Right.
And if a child jumps out of your car, they run right across the road to get to the beach.
Right.
That is a hazard. It was done very poorly. But
Deliberately so.
on Dix Point, I used to launch my small little Boston Whaler at the northwest side of Dix Point. You can drive in and look right before you get to the condos, and there is a boat ramp there. Someone has put up a 4.5-foot wall
Yes.
and an 8-foot fence.
Mhm.
Whoever would have blocked off the public access boat ramp for Bahamians to force us to go to Montague? Who lives in that area? Who has a house or condo in that area?
Mhm.
You know, Steve, going down the Eastern Road, there are many public boat ramp accesses.
Yes.
But there's none in Lyford Key and none in Old Fort Bay, and I command Perry Christie to open the public access. And if they've sold and put a fence around that entire beach, he must allow Bahamians to pull up outside Old Fort Bay and Lyford, and they need a shuttle to take us to our beach. Peter Nygaard was onto something, you know. Just because you're rich and you put a fence around our beach doesn't, and you keep us out, what next? Can't go in a casino? I guess they'll say that Bahamians aren't allowed in certain churches next. You have a good one, Steve.
I appreciate your call. So beach access is a big thing, and it's going to get bigger. You trust me on that. As I was saying to Graham, a group of lawyers are now looking at it because they're going to put up a serious challenge. Since the government has become dumb, they can't speak on certain issues. They have now opened the door for these very brave lawyers, persons of legal mind, to go and do their investigation and report to hard copy. That's a part of the research that's happening now. In person, because what is happening here is that we have a shrinking country where we've been pushed into the interior because some other people want to have fun. And their fun is not inclusive of natives who have rights to the access where they want to have that fun. And they have gone, obviously, and gotten the approval of the government to make sure that they can keep some out and have fun with the people's beach all by themselves in their own enclave. And because Bahamians have not been making too much noise about it and have been settling and settling and settling for whatever little pittance they may get, they've become discouraged and have not made much noise. But the Paradise Island Beach thing has awakened the sleeping giant. That's what's happening. And I tell you, it's going to be quite interesting to see how things unfold from Thursday onward with what is going on. The government has a good chance now to do some action, to lobby on behalf of the Bahamian people, to talk to those supposedly owners, and to publicly demand and say that the beach access to Cabbage Beach will not be removed. It's a permanent fixture, and it will be open for taxi cab drivers to take the people where they're going, as well as Bahamians, whoever wants to use that beach. But you think that they can do that? That sounds like a little small assignment, hey? Let's see. Hard copy, how are you?
Hello?
Hi there.
Hey, good afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Good afternoon, sir. I'm listening to you.
Good afternoon. This is O'Neill.
Yes, O'Neill, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. I hope you're doing fine as well.
Yes, I am.
Hearing you listening, as usual. The beginning, I have two things to say. I don't want you to cut me, but I have two things to say what I feel is disheartening. When we have leaders who come in our country and claim that they're here to represent us and support us when they don't even come to us, or even publicly, or people's opinions, or people-oriented form of government to support them in our country. Because when you look at people who is in their homes, every else, the government, up until Congress, is the other space. And on another note, the most educated person. But if you put sex there, that's not mean we cannot discriminate based on sex.
Yes, that's what it means.
Okay, so why is it that we seem not
To get it?
we consult our people and indirectly?
We get it. We know what we're doing. We're just being clever.
I'm a
And
23-year-old young man, Kenny, as a 23-year young man, I try to be informed. That's why I listen. And it's very shameful that we seem not to want to educate people.
yeah. Well, a lot of this is going to have to happen. Thanks, O'Neill, for your call. A lot of people are going to have to begin to do a lot of reading and research. But I was down by a place of business today, getting some material, and two guys that approached me, and they know who I'm talking about right now. They're listening because they are ardent listeners to Hard Copy. And one was telling the other that, man, I learned what I'm learning, and I'm talking about what is happening on Hard Copy because we're getting the right information. The other guy was saying, no. If the people they say there's nothing wrong with this Bill 4, and even if there is, and the people want to challenge it, they can challenge it because they're not going to be able to challenge it because of the Marriage Act. So the other gentleman said, yeah, but the Marriage Act is not as powerful as the Constitution. If this thing is in the Constitution is the supreme document. It is higher than any marital act. And so when the proponents of this Bill number 4 tell you that, well, the Marriage Act will kick in, and if people try to challenge this whole thing about discrimination in Bill 4 and talk about discrimination by sex under Article 26, he says that what's going to happen there is that people are not going to be able to challenge it. His opponent was saying to him, and the gentleman who listens to the Hard Copy says, oh yes, they can challenge it because the Marriage Act cannot supersede this if it's passed by a referendum as a part of the amendment to the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme document. And the guy didn't get it. He didn't get it. Then he eventually got it. He saw it. I sensed that he saw it. Listening to them talk, he saw it. That what's happening here is that there are some who are proponents of this bill who will tell you, don't mind that they will come and try to challenge. That won't go nowhere because the Marriage Act simply says that marriage in the Bahamas is only recognized by a man marrying a woman, not a man marrying a man or a woman marrying a woman, but a man and a woman. So that will kill whatever they do. And the fellow said, that's just the point. If the Constitution says you cannot discriminate by sex, and the fella says he wants to get married to a man, and he's a man, he can challenge that because it's a constitutional right. You can't tell him who to have affiliation with. You can't pick his family. And even though we say what our law says, yeah, but this is the Constitution versus something that somebody put there, an act. You see how serious that could become? And of course, there are people who will challenge that. We know this. We talked about this yesterday. There are people who challenge that, left, right, and center. So we got to get back on our feet and get back to the books and pick up these documents and take a look at it and take a read and ask some questions and go around and attend any meetings that we can to hear what the experts are saying, who are saying, we're going to make this constitutional amendment and it's going to be okay. And we have nothing to worry about because, as Jerome Fitzgerald put it, they've put inside there what Miles Monroe said, which we'll get to in just a minute. Hard Copy, how are you?
Good afternoon, Steve.
Peace.
How you doing?
Very good, man.
I don't like to discriminate, but that guy, I tell you the Southwest, that big gate,
The big gate?
isn't there, baby? That's for members only. Yeah, we have a members only.
Oh, you're talking about Life is Key and all that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't get there, baby.
No?
I've been there I was working there for 44 years.
There's no such thing as beach access for Bahamians at that part of the island, right?
I won't say it's Bahamian can't go there, but baby, only members only, baby.
Members only, eh?
I can tell you that. You know you talking to, right?
Mm-hmm. I know who this is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. 44
years I've been there. I never seen nobody coming there. You just can't throw up that beach, baby. Not there.
Yeah. out there.
Okay.
Take your desire someplace else. Is what she said. Don't come there. But no, if there's supposed to be beach access around the island, I think Mr. Ingram, before he left, he had published a number of them. We've got to look that up and see where all these accesses were placed. And obviously, there's some people who are concerned about it. There's some people who don't give 2 cents about it because Bahamians, the word is that we can't swim, so we ain't what we want to go to the beach for. We ain't into that. So they take what they say you don't want. But if it belongs to you, you shouldn't let anybody take it. Your children might learn how to swim. And so this is something that we have to consider. This is Hard Copy. I'm taking your calls today at 325-023546. And certainly, my guest should be here by now, right? We're taking that as well. We're going to have our guests come in a short time and talk about some of the other things that's on the agenda. But I want you to hear something here as I run to the break. I want you to hear Ali McIntosh. The other day, she was on Hard Copy Show. And she went off on a spiel about a number of things that the people made her vex. And of course, Ali McIntosh is the civic leader of the Bahamas Constitution Party. And they say that they're on the move to bring about a party that's to do with all the laws of the Bahamas, the Constitution, something that we really need. And boy, does she have something to say about those who hijacked the vote on Bay Street and turned it into their own personal victory and celebration because it seemed as if they got things done their way from the parliamentarians.
That's to God, this whole matter. Because when we stop the human race from producing, we finally will eliminate it. And something a caller said earlier, if you really, the lifespan of persons who are homosexual are the shortest. In average, they are the shortest. Because although we see the glory out front, really, when they're dying in the hospital at 40, when they're dying at 38 of lifestyle diseases, we don't see that. When they are excommunicated from their family because their lifestyle has taken them to the place of death, we don't see that. And so people are really getting people involved in a movement just for the sake of fun. But when it gets to the point where they're dying, and we don't want to extinct the human race, we want the human race to continue to go on. And that can only happen when marriage happens between a man and a woman. Children are produced for the race to continue to go on. And this agenda, because it's an affront to God, you will have to understand this. This is saying, God, I don't want what you have, what you say, what you are telling us to do. I am saying we want to see because Satan has determined. I think Satan is put behind this. He is determined. The only way he can get rid of the human race and let God see his race go to nothing is let's kill them all. And we can't kill them like that. We let them kill themselves. And so we get involved in this activity. When we get involved in this activity,
Is Cleve out there?
I hear you guys just out here.
and AIDS and
Okay.
hepatitis and all of those things, many stuff that you can't even name, only the doctors know what happens because of the things that people do when they get in a lifestyle where it's only about fun, enjoying ourselves and telling God to hell with you. Because this is where it gets to.
Ali McIntosh, as we run to the break here on Hard Copy today, 325-023516. We have to be focused, friends. The focus is on the 4 bills, and we'll be talking about them as well. And the focus is on beach access. And you may get weary talking about it, but it's a very real situation that's becoming more and more explosive with every passing day. 325-023516, 325-024243, and 325-025253. You can call us. We're back in just a minute. along the lines of parental care and guidance and so many other things, and the rights of children, the rights of fathers, and all that. And of course, he wanted to be a part of weighing in as well on this conversation. See, we're doing things from the ground up. And so what are people out there saying? What are people talking about? How are people hearing and accepting these bills that have been passed in Parliament almost unanimously? The bills have been passed, second time they've been passed, second time that they've had a vote along these lines, 14 years ago, and then just recently, with Mr. Christie having 4 bills on his agenda here. Bill number 4, of course, has been one of great concern for so many people, and even men have been looking at this from a point of view as to what does Bill 1 mean, Bill 2, Bill 3, and the conversations in the public are very, very, very much active and alive, and we're talking with them as well ourselves today. Welcome, Cleveland. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Good evening, Bahamas, and thanks for having me, Mr. McKinney.
Absolutely. I like to talk with everybody on these matters, and what have you been hearing since the time that the bills have been talked about and passed in the House of Assembly? What's the feedback? What's happening on the ground? How is the average everyday citizen, the average everyday lady, woman, talking about these bills? Have they embraced them? Are they loving what's happening? Are they eager to just go and vote yes? What's happening?
Well, Steve, I'm fortunate enough, to be able to communicate with a wide cross section of individuals, from the highest level to the lowest level. I try to get a fair and balanced understanding as to what people are really saying, to break it down to its most logical conclusion. And what people are saying is basically, we're a Christian nation, we're on Christian principles, and I want the Bahamas to hear me too, and I would hope that those persons who are parading around, which you call them the Constitutional Commission, I hope they're listening. I hope Justice Ruby Nordic is listening. I hope they listen, because what people are saying, you're hearing a regurgitation of what they've been saying in around 2002, when these bills were these similar bills were introduced in the referenda, and you're hearing all sorts of things. And I am also, it causes you to also want to draw certain conclusions, but we're a Christian nation, we subscribe on Christian principles, so the Christians, what we're talking about here when I say this, what we are saying in these bills, Steve, are a whole bunch of confusion. And the Christian church could understand me saying this. When you are confused, Steve, we all know that God is not the author of confusion. There are only 2 spirits, good and evil, God and Satan. And if God is not the author of confusion, and we are confused,
Interesting.
what do you think is happening here? Who's bringing these bills?
Somebody else, not God.
And shouldn't we throw these things back to the pits of hell from where they once came? I mean, when you look at the makeup of what is happening here, everyone who has common sense and intelligence know, and particularly Bill 4, if you were to use male, female, sex, or gender, and bear in mind the previous, when these bills were first introduced, the Ingham administration, they used gender. There are only 4 words in the English, in English, that you could use: male, female, sex, or gender. Once this bill goes back to where it came from, which is the pits of hell, this is a very important referendum. Very, very, very important. If even people can put an end to all of this by voting a resounding no, which they are already committed. A wide cross sections of persons have already come here, and they've already committed to vote no. Because like I said, God is not the author of confusion. So why get mixed up in this, even as a Christian? Why would you want to get mixed up?
What do you make if that is the case, and not that I doubt you, but just for the sake of debate here, what do you make of the church saying all the things that they've been saying? The denominational churches that have spoken to this say, telling people go and vote and vote for this, because this bill is about equality for women. That's what they're saying. they shy away from this gender. They say this is about equality. Now, I made a point yesterday here that equality exists in the Bahamas in a big way, that we can be great examples of equality. We've got so many women to the forefront of many of our institutions, and they head up many of our sacred institutions as well as our secular institutions, our business institutions, political institutions, and there's no way that one can say and win an argument saying that there's no equality for women in the Bahamas. We've come a long way, and our women are doing just fine, and they look good, and they're doing just fine. Now, some other people have confused, as you said, that's the word of the day, confused, mixed up, confounded. Some people have confused this thing so that we can all be mixed up and don't know we're going or coming. And so what that does, the confusion basically is a strategy to neutralize the average everyday citizen from participating in the conversation, because they will say, well, I don't understand what they mean, so I just guess I'll be quiet. That is what I'm also hearing out there.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of women say that to me as I did my own little polling, and this is the conversation, so we're talking that everywhere we go, we're asking people just to see how they're feeling. And a lot of women have said to me, and I'm surprised at it, a lot of women who are women, they're not young girls, these are women in their 40s and their 50s, and they said, I don't understand it because I don't know what they're talking about, and it's confusing, and I've been hearing so many things, I'm confused. I don't know what I can do with that. I ain't even gonna do.
But you know what to do. When you are confused, you go to the polls and you vote no. A resounding no. Don't just be confused and stay home.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of what you would you could describe as simple-minded. The Bible speaks about, this ain't speaking about anyone that knows the meaning midway. The Bible speaks about the simple-minded. We who are strong need to bear the infirmities of the weak, because this is very, 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 very important. These same compendium of bills, these are very, very, very important.
Let me go back
this could change
absolutely
the dynamics of this Bahamas.
It will, if it has the affirmative.
You know the amount of lawsuits that will be upon us? The way we speak will be no more. You see professional athletes, when they use the word sissy, they have to apologize because all of their endorsements will be pulled away from them. There will be a new way of speaking. You know, the problems that these grandmothers who speak a certain way, you know, the lawsuits that will be upon small and medium-sized and businesses in general. So if these bills were passed,
you see this as something very, very evil and something very big, something very sinister that is being perpetrated upon the Bahamian people.
Anything that originates from the pits of hell. Anything. And I'm not surprised by these pastors and these priests and these, I'm not surprised at them at all.
Why aren't you surprised though? Why aren't you surprised? If it is true that what we are gathering, what we are getting out of bill number 4 in particular, or all the bills, is that the bills are no good without bill number 4. Bill number 4 seems to be the real McCoy that they want. If what we're gathering out of that is that this is an opening for same-sex marriage, which everybody is now looking at and saying, I wonder if it is. Those who have not said that are saying, but I wonder if it is. They're now in a state where they're wondering if what this really is all about. Now, with all that being said, and the Christian church saying what they're saying, are you saying that they're complicit in knowing exactly what is going on and that they're not doing it?
Very complicit, very dishonest, and I'm willing to debate them scripturally. I'm willing to debate them from a human rights perspective, from a sensible perspective, however you want to put it. You know, they are being very deceptive. Let me show you something here. When the Constitution was written, who was the Constitution written for?
The people, eh?
The people.
Yeah.
Who happens to be male and female. When you're talking in Article 26, when you're talking non-discrimination, you're talking race, color, creed, religion, you're talking disabled, all of these things come under, and when you are talking, if someone feels discriminated against, and sex wasn't left out intentionally, Sex wasn't left out as an oversight by mistake. When you, and Justice Rubian Norwich is being very, very, very deceptive and dishonest. All of them. Because if someone were to claims that they are being discriminated against, gender should be blind. Blind by inserting the word sex in this. It convolutes the entire thing. And all of those things now can be challenged. We are males and females, that's our makeup.
Yeah.
So who is being discriminated against? Either could be discriminated against either a male or either a female.
Absolutely.
So
that's the point. You're right about that. And Article 26 already deals with that.
Exactly.
To put it in Article 26, again,
it will cloud. That's like me saying to you, Mr. McKinney. That's like me saying to you that it's being repetitive and making it redundant. Because it's like me saying to you, reverse back. Does that make sense?
No.
That's exactly what will happen if they would have put male, female, gender, or sex in this thing. It will destroy the entire integrity of what Article 26 was designed for.
Let us be frank. Article 26 for persons who should not be discriminated against. That's very important in any constitution. It's in ours, and it's very important. To see that eventually those persons from the LBGT have been able to lay claim to a victory of sorts can only tell you that this has been a part of an agenda for almost 25, 30 years throughout the world to be able to be fitted into a constitution, the highest document they can get into, to have protection, as they call it, that they will feel is sufficient enough, so that they are not, quote unquote, discriminated against. Now, in the 1990s, they made an attempt. Prior to that, they made an attempt to get this in the Constitution. They tried to get part of being into Article 26, just like how a black man or a black woman or a minority group would be in it, a blind person or disabled. They wanted to be inside there as a group because of their sexual orientation being discriminated against. Now,
no, but what would they go in their eyes though?
That's just it. The whole thing is counterfeit.
What will they go in their eyes?
They will have to go in there under a title
as what?
Of them not being
disabled?
Straight. No, they can't be. They're not disabled.
Some argue that maybe their wrist is broken, so maybe they may fit in that category as being disabled. I don't know.
No, we'll see on a very serious note. That's one of the reasons why the word sex is so important in this argument. So that once they are in there, under this area that they cannot be discriminated against, they will feel comfortable that that itself is sufficient for them to do what they're doing in their lifestyle.
But they are already protected, Mr. McKinney.
They are protected.
Because when you're talking about a lesbian, when you talk about lesbian, they are females. When you're talking race, color, creed, religion, disabled, all of these are males and females that the Constitution is speaking to. You. So by inserting sex, male, female, or gender in there, what does that do? That opens the door now, it convolutes. See, when you're talking about the Constitution shouldn't be written for no big grown adults whose mind have already been conformed. When you write the Constitution starts at 0, you know. You're talking babies who would eventually grow into adults. You follow what I'm saying, Mr. McKinney? Now, when you become an adult and be trying now to you have a certain way of thinking, and this thing is so dishonest. If the government of the Bahamas want to join the so-called enlightened world and want perhaps to look at bringing in these same-sex marriages as a part of tourism or whatever they want to call it, why can't they just say and have an honest discussion like other countries? What's all of this sneaking and causing people? The Bible talks about these people who are going to say, Lord, Lord, didn't we cast out devils? Didn't we do this? And he's going to say, depart from me that work in iniquity.
So you think that there are agendas that are being advanced here?
Yes.
On the back and on the on the back of
How you gonna ride?
this idea that we are giving women equality.
Right.
This is going to be
That's a
something.
sweetener. That's a sweetener for the women to go out there and vote yes. That's a sweetener. But bear in mind, the chairman of the Constitutional Commission, who happens to now be the what is he, the ambassador now to the Vatican?
Yeah, Sean McQueen.
Sean McQueen, he already stated, that this entire process hinged on Bill 4. Bear in mind now, this entire exercise, this referendum, this is only for one bill, Only one of the 4 bills needs constitutional adjustment.
The other 3 doesn't need. We can do that right
All
now.
of this now for one bill,
Right.
which
All or nothing.
the chairman have already said that if this bill fails, gender equality will be obsolete. They wouldn't really go forward with it. And that's what he said in not so many words. He's saying that if Bill 4 fails, the entire process.
Yeah, they need Bill 4 as a part of the compendium of bills. They need that. That's what they're saying. And there's a reason
But these
why.
bills don't have to go to the first 3 don't have to go to constitutional referenda. That's just a hoax. That's just a hoax. It's only one bill that needs to go. And
They dressed it up in this whole thing about women's equality.
the first 3 bills are sweeteners. It's like a bonus if you vote yes. It's like them giving you $20 or giving you some rum
Do you
to
really,
go there. It's an inducement. That's what it is.
I understand what you're saying, and a lot of people feel that way. Do you really feel, Cleveland Duncan, that the government would be so deceptive, so complicit, so,
Dishonest.
to do dishonest,
Along with the church, certain segments of the
to
church.
do this just to make sure that there are some people who would feel comfortable in their skin, that they are in a different lifestyle and they have been discriminated against, they claim, in that lifestyle, and they want to be recognized and not discriminated against. So the church and everybody else would go along with that because they think that this is a show of mercy and love, notwithstanding that the lifestyle may be an abomination before the eyes of God. The church is saying, listen, they have a right, I suppose, to be recognized and to not be discriminated against.
But watch the voices who are saying these things. Some of themselves are gay themselves, So don't be
Understood.
Don't be. You have to be very. See, Steve, you have to understand something here. Understand the seasons. Understand these seasons. I build my life by understanding this season. This is going into the Lent season now, right? The devil is very, 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 very busy at this time, because bear in mind now, they were about preparing to crucify the Christ. So Satan was 10 times more dangerous. They're going to crucify the Christ. So expect anything evil. That's why we now need to understand what we're dealing with here. This whole compendium of bills, this is a spiritual warfare that we are dealing with here. We can't win this battle physically. You can't win this battle. You have to be of sober mind. You have to be focused, spiritually connected, understanding what is happening here. Because, my digestive system, Stephen, I'm not being I'm just telling you basically how it is. My digestive system right now cannot take saying 2 men sharing an ice cream cone in public together. That's all my makeup. I may bring up food I ate from last year. That's me. But some other people can. But if this is the way you want to go, be honest and let's have it. Maybe it may be more people who may vote yes. I don't know. But I am willing to accept whatever the results are. But my voice also will be heard because the way we see the Bahamas, we may never see it again no more. Because of this big agenda that's behind it. For one bill, this entire referendum is for one bill, not bill 1, bill 2, bill 3, because they are legislative issues. They can make correction, do what they have to do. But for one bill, they are hoaxing, trying to bring us
This
Hoax
has
us.
to be, this has to go for constitutional blessings and be passed as a part of the Constitution for it to be as effective. And that's what people are afraid of. People are afraid of that if, in fact, this goes through and there are people of the other lifestyle, I'll put it that way, who want to challenge the traditional way of life, the traditional lifestyle in the Bahamas, where there are people who are men and women getting married, and they want to challenge that, they can. And that is what people are saying. And the government must be able to speak clearly to it. The proponents of these bills must be able to speak clearly to it, not just say that's a bunch of hogwash. They must say why. They must say, no, this is how it can happen. And the reason they gave recently that says this is why it can happen, talking about the Marriage Act, is not sufficient, because as two laypersons today working at a lumber yard, we're discussing, I talked about it earlier, one see the Constitution as the supreme document. If this here is in the Constitution and this weighs against the Marriage Act,
So Constitution will reign supreme.
that's correct. And so if they know that and they say, man, look here, I really want to marry this fellow. I really want to marry him. I love him. I want to marry him. I just want to live in decency so I can pass my inheritance on to this person who I picked to be my love. This is what I want. Now, I want to do this, and I want to be civil about it, and I want to just live the way I want to live, which I have a right to. The state now is telling me I can't marry him because they say the marital act of the Bahamas prohibits and says marriage can only be between a man and a woman. You see the point? Right. But I am a man who loves a man, and so the bottom line is I want to marry this man, is what they're arguing. And they say, but the state stops me. Now, they have violated my right, because in the Constitution, Article 26, I cannot be discriminated against because of my sex.
So you see why they have to fit that in.
So
everything else they are protected with: race, color, creed, religion, disability. You can go on and on. The whole gamut. So they are fully covered.
So when they do that now, our courts may say, yeah, we'll uphold this, but any good lawyer,
many cases have been won
in the UK.
In the UK.
But look at it in Canada. But any lawyer can say, look here, man, you're already discriminating against this fella, because according to the Constitution, he can't be discriminated against because of his sex. And if he is in love with somebody, why you get into that? That's not for you. That's for superior.
But he's already been protected by his sex, because only males and females, when you're talking race, color, creed, religion, disability, you're talking males, Bahamian males and females.
Yes, I see that. But this is something else that they're trying to do to make sure that it's emphatically clear.
And lesbians, when you're talking lesbians, you're talking females. When you're talking gay, you're talking males.
That's in the heterosexual world.
They have a name for themselves?
No. Well, there are all kind of new names now. The latest new name that we have is intersex. You know that?
Were they intersex?
No, not.
Oh, INTER.
No, INTER. Yes, intersex. Now,
confusion again, and where, like I said earlier, where confusion originates from. But people have to go there and vote a resounding no. And look at and the dangerous of, and let me show you what makes this thing so egregious. Look at what they're doing to sweeten the pot. They are willing now to give women the authority through marriage for their husbands to have citizenship.
Yeah.
You see how dangerous this thing is?
Well, that's the sweetness you said.
That's a sweetener.
Yeah.
We are willing now to allow you to, just through marriage, just give away these citizenship willy-nilly, just to get Bill 4 passed. Then they come to us men. They want to sweeten the pot for us too. When they can do all of these in Parliament tomorrow, They can.
Interesting. Hold your thought. 325-02.
I hope Justice Ruby Norris is listening.
She is. She's going to be here hopefully next week.
I heard I want to debate Mr. Harvey Tynes in Freeport, but I would love to have a debate with her publicly. I would love to have a debate with her.
All right. Let me take some calls here. Hard copy. How are you? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello. How are you?
I'm okay. This is neighbor from down the road. You know where I am.
Okay.
I want to give you three things to think about at the end of the day. The Progressive Liberal Party, I'm going to put it to your administration as said now. For one, can I ride the corner to live in also within them? Okay? We just think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Two, the people in this country need to learn to put together because at the end of the day, they don't give a damn about what's going on with the people and how the people feel.
Mm-hmm.
Three, you don't have a door driver at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on in this country is like we don't have no say. It's like when people have money, they do what they want. I don't care about the lower class man at the end of the day. But these are the people that carry the money over the hill and support the Indian people.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is about the whole thing. They lie. It's a whole gimmick. The people are not experienced in this country will fall short for anything. So as that bill being passed, 1, 2, and 3, they can regulate that in the House, whatever it is. Bill 4, everything they need to go in and register and vote no for every single thing that they're putting towards us.
For one bill, they're doing a whole referendum for one bill.
All right. Hard copy. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Liggett. How you doing?
Yes, I'm Mr.
Good afternoon to you guys as well. Good afternoon to the nation.
Good afternoon, Antoine.
I disagree with your position, Mr. Duncan. The reason being is this. When sex is included in if the bill passes, in the bill number 4, sex is specific to male and female, right?
Buddy,
Now, as it relates, if I may make my point.
I heard you made this point earlier this morning on another show.
Now, as it relates to what you are suggesting in terms of the homosexuals would be able to then pursue their rights in the courts. I disagree with that because a man seeking to marry a man or a woman seeking to marry a woman has nothing to do with sex, which is male and female. That has to do specifically and only with sexual orientation, which is not represented at all in any way in the Constitution, nor is it being proposed to be represented in any way in the Constitution. And so,
just for a second, Antoine. Just for a second. When you're talking sex, and you take this to the Privy Council, because that's exactly where we'll end up. The Privy Council have already awarded persons who claims that they have been discriminated against sex, which is sexual orientation. We all know this. Just so you know, me talking from the top of my head, okay? I'm telling you what has already happened. I don't need you to give me no conspiracy theory and no this. I'm telling you the hardcore facts.
based upon what you are saying, right? I hear you clearly.
Yes.
Tell me clearly.
But understand me, don't just hear me. Understand me.
Do you agree that the Constitution is the supreme document in this country, that if anyone goes to the Privy Council, the Privy Council is strictly going to rule based on our Constitution? You agree with that?
Based on our Constitution?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
they will.
Okay,
Yes.
fine.
But it's based upon the interpretation of what the Constitution is and what we have put inside there.
And and cases they cite cases where people have already been
A moment.
Uh-huh.
I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
I just wanted you to answer that question so I can say that. If the
Yes.
Privy Council will be guided strictly by what the Constitution says, and if persons have went there previously and won cases on the
Yes.
basis of sex, right, and intertwining that with sexual orientation, though I don't know how it could. In our Constitution, it is being proposed that sex will be in brackets male and female.
But Antoine,
the interpretation is very
Antoine,
clear.
very
and
quickly.
The Privy Council to determine sex meaning sexual orientation. They can only interpret it to be sex meaning male.
But Antoine,
Male.
who is the Constitution designed for? Wasn't it designed for male and females of Bahamian descent? Wasn't it?
Naturally,
So when you're talking race, color, creed, religion, disability, who are they speaking about? Males and female, right?
males and females.
So what's the purpose of putting sex in there?
For under the discrimination.
Again,
clause.
again, they're already talking about males and
We are now
females.
looking at
What?
making equal in the eyes of the Constitution where it is not written.
So where is it unequal?
Anton,
Anton, no. I can't let you get away with that. You can't come
I'm
see.
talking equality. That's the only purpose for putting male and female in the Constitution.
But we are, but Anton, when you're talking race, color, creed, religion,
You know,
and all of
nobody
these
cats
things,
the
we
dog.
are all equal. That is why they put the disabled in there.
Wide open because
Just
there's
in
no
case.
state-
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. When you're talking race, color, creed, religion, you're speaking about babies who are male and female. Now hold on. Now
That is where it's left to interpretation.
hold on. When you're talking
Now I thought
and
it was specific.
it's
Now,
very
there's
clear when you're
something
talking
left to
race, color,
interpretation.
creed. These are males and females who can.
Specifically in it, Brother McKinney.
No, it's blind. Gender, when you're talking these things, gender's supposed to be blind, neutral. That is why they didn't put in there.
The reason why we would get slaughtered at the Privy Council in the current state that the Constitution is written in is because it does not specify.
Well, why can't someone who claims
We've
that
not
they're
been slaughtered yet.
we haven't been slaughtered yet?
At the-
Probably because no
We
one
will-
has that
the
persuasion wishes to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to go through the Supreme Court, to the appeals court, and then right up to the Privy Council, which is a very expensive undertaking.
Once one of these explosive words, once one of the 4 explosive words, which is male, female, sex, or gender, is inserted in Article 26, it will obliterate the Constitution.
I
Adults,
disagree with you on the
adults,
simple fact.
I'll tell you this, I'll say this, and I'm saying this because of this. Adults whose minds have already been made up, they will be taking any old nonsense to the Privy Council saying they are being discriminated against. Whose mind? You will find people who want to sleep with a dog.
It would make
Now
no sense,
going to,
though.
it will make what?
It would make no sense going to the Privy Council because the Constitution then guides that when they reference sex.
The point is this, right, Anton? Don't miss the point.
Yeah.
The point is this, that this opens itself to another interpretation. It also opens itself to challenge. And just that mere fact alone, no matter how much it will cost, some people who are prepared to challenge it because it's everyone is already protected under Article 26.
Males and females, including the disabled.
Put inside there another thing that talks about sex and in brackets male and female.
What is this other thing? What is this other thing?
And in brackets male and female.
What is
That's
this?
left to interpretation that people don't see. Don't think we just putting it there and say sex and then put in brackets male and female because that's going to be what you want. But sex is the key word here. The word is sex. And if somebody says their sexual orientation is one of like sex, what do you call it again?
Sexual orientation refers to
Intersex. Hold on, intersex
likening.
or gender or transgender. Who are you to say that they are male or female?
One time ago, many years ago, when you call someone gay, you refer them as being happy. Today,
Right.
when you say gay, it has a different interpretation, right?
No, it's based on the context that is being used in the sentence.
Exactly my point. Based on the context that is being used in.
Obviously, you told me this before. You
Yeah.
think it's a good bill. You support it. You don't
No
see nothing
problem.
wrong
You
with
go,
it.
you go, and you vote yes if that's what you
I
want
could
to
be
do.
persuaded if I saw the way you all are representing it, but I don't.
No, well, that's fine. The point is, you just wait and see. Eventually, something will resonate with you as you go and you continue to research and get more information. Some of us have been at this for quite a number of years. I'll tell you that, Antoine. I mean, quite a number of years, like 20, 30 years, because we know the agenda, and we've been fighting the agenda for 20, 30 years on this same point that the people of another lifestyle wanted to get these things inserted
But I'm saying,
into the
I will fight that agenda
into
too
the,
because I'm
into
a
the
straight Bahamian
Constitution.
male.
No, I'm just saying to you, I'm not
I
questioning
will
that.
fight that and I'm a man of God on top of that.
All I'm saying is this, that a lot of things have not been properly
They
set.
don't have the right to
This
fight.
one,
them.
Anton, this one isn't for you right now. You know, you are about 10 years behind this referenda right now. And I would describe you as a Doubting Thomas. You know, you can catch up.
My brother,
You
I'm
can
way
catch
ahead
up.
of you.
You can catch
I'm
up.
like years ahead of you.
You
All
can catch up.
Okay,
So based on the simple explanation,
you sound like you're offended. He doesn't mean that in any offensive way. He's
so
saying
brother
to
McKinney,
you are a Johnny
and it's
come
logic
lately
and fact,
to the actual
sexual
struggle
orientation.
and the actual showdown that's been happening in this country for quite a number of years
Not
as it
sexual
relates
orientation.
to the Constitution of the Bahamas. It was just very, very recently that some people had tried to hijack.
I mean, before you go, I would like you to explain to me about.
I've let him go. The point is this: some people tried to hijack it recently in this same debate about constitutional reform. There were people who were trying to change the whole preamble of the Constitution because they thought that that may have been an impediment to what they wanted to do. They were able to leave the preamble after threatening to mess it up. And the Christian church was very happy that they left it. And there were several pastors who came to this show to tell them, don't you mess around with the preamble of the Constitution. So they worked it and worked it and worked it to the point where they were able to say, well, look, let's look at this Article 26. They found a way to look at an old argument that had been perpetrated for quite a number of years, almost 30 years from the time I've been doing talk radio and being in journalism. And they said, we can perhaps work it in there because we tried it before to get us in the grouping where there were people who were being discriminated against. If we can be considered a group of people who have also been discriminated against, like the paraplegic, like the disabled, like the blind people, like the minority groups, we just make it work. And somebody has worked it and they've worded it to the point where it has now become the most important thing in a compendium of 4 bills to say that the other 3 is of no real anything unless number 4 helps to
and the chairman of the Constitutional Commission was right. Mm-hmm. He was dead right when he said it, because the only constitutional bill on this entire referendum is bill number 4. All of the other ones are legislative issues that they can deal with. So you see how deceptive the government has been. Yeah. They're trying to make women and men to believe that their rights are is enshrined. It's a constitutional issue, when it's only a legislative issue.
An act of parliament can clear up this whole thing about women who want to marry and that kind of stuff.
It's an entire process.
The whole thing. The whole thing.
For one bill.
But bill number 4 is tricky. See, they need the weight of the country, the Constitution, to give legs to what they're doing. And the legs that they will get once you, that's right, to validate it. Once you decide that you're voting yes, you would have given validity, you've given it legs, you've given it life.
But if they could have done this independently, they could deal with the first 3. This would have been done years ago. But they need the people. They need us, the people.
They're testing it
so
again. This
may
may not be their time again. They may have to wait for another 30 years. But they can eventually get it. You don't believe that.
But you know how they're going to get it? The only way they're going to get it is when they come. The third one is going to be an honest discussion. Look, we want to go with same-sex marriage, and then we'll have the pros and the cons on it. Mm-hmm. But other than that, they are trying to be deceptive.
Hard copy, how are you?
Good afternoon, Steve. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks.
Good. I have a quick question. Aren't these the same 4 bills that the FNM tried to pass before the 202 election? I think it was that the people rejected.
Yes.
And the PLP was saying that we should reject these bills.
Yes.
My question is this:
bill number 4 was it?
But they use gender. They use gender.
They want to now be a support for these bills, which they had rejected before. What's the reason? What's the change?
Well, the bill, when the Free National Movement brought the bill, the Free National Movement had it under the auspices of gender. This one is now talking full out discrimination by sex, and so it's a little different. Their bill number 4 is just a little different in that it will change the whole understanding as to what it is that is a non-discriminatory area, and of course for many years they have been trying to get it to Article 26. The persons who have a different lifestyle have been trying to be under the auspices of Article 26. Now, the reason why they're trying this again now, in my humble opinion, is because the time may be right in their mind that people are ready for this kind of thing. And that they're testing it. They're not so sure, but they're testing it. That's why they've come back with it. So governments are continuous, and lobbyists of the governments are continuous and persistent. And governments are not owned by a political party. Governments are owned by the people. They are people of all persuasion and all these political parties. So if they tried under the FNM, they tried it this way, it failed. They come back and the people tried it this way, they'll see how that goes. Because they're lobbyists who are of all persuasions who want to see certain things, and they're powerful lobbyists. And that's all there is. I mean, a political party is only a vehicle to get some things done.
So let me ask this then. Why, if they want to add the word sex into the thing, and they want to then put back it's male and female, why we just don't add the word biological male and female into the whole equation, and then the argument goes away?
But if you don't need to add anything,
but one person wanted to say, one person advanced that idea. Nico Grant, the parliamentarian, had said that you want to put if just to make sure that we weren't in his way, we weren't going to go down a slippery slope. He says, for my benefit, put inside it male or female by birth, and
by birth.
Yeah, and that's because of the fact that there are so many people out there who call themselves all kinds of names.
And they don't necessarily have to be male at birth.
No, they don't have to be male at birth. What do you mean they don't have to be male? You mean to be
what?
Be
female, eh?
They don't have to be male at the time they make whatever applications they want to make. They could have been born a male and then
transgender. I think that's where Nico was coming from on the whole matter, Mr. Grant. I think he was coming from that he knows, and he's been around. He knows that he's one of the oldest members of parliament, not oldest in age, but oldest long-serving members of parliament. Now he's a senior man, and he knows what the arguments are. He knows that there are people who have been lobbying to have certain things done, and that's why he said what he said. Now, certainly, there's nothing wrong, and if it's going to ease all of our conscience and make all of us feel happy, what's so wrong with saying male or female at birth? I mean, what's so wrong with saying
what that's supposed to do, Mr. McKinney? By inciting male or female at birth, what is that supposed to do?
And Nico's way of thinking that is supposed to say that will eliminate other people who are
because of
married to a male that they're discriminating against you, because then the Marriage Act kicks in. Because the Marriage Act talks about a male and a female,
right.
And obviously the Constitution talks about male and female at birth. Then you go back to the Constitution and say, well, this only applies to male and female at birth, the Marriage Act, and therefore just male or female at birth, then you can't get married to Bahama.
Well, I don't know. That sounds a little confusing.
That just to log the transgenders out by putting male or female at birth.
But that won't lock anything else out.
That wouldn't lock anything else out, because two males can still go and say that they are being discriminated against because they are male. They were born male by birth. You see how the Constitution. You see how the Constitution was written, and who was it written for? It starts at birth.
That's common sense. It doesn't say male or female.
And it doesn't need to, because you are born either male or female at birth. And this Constitution was written.
If you'd like to make a
in this way,
Hard copy, how are you?
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
The Prime Minister, in his outlaying of this this referendum, labeling gender. And gender means basically 5 different classifications.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
And the first classification, you got to it, homosexual, you get bisexual, lesbian, intersex, and the rest of them. So the point is that the referendum itself is based on the fact that they're trying to protect all genders.
All.
Male and female. That's the first thing. The second thing is the English House of Lords, which forms our Privy Council, have already ruled that sex means gender, and gender means the other 5 categories.
Exactly.
Get around that. Get around that.
But you can Google these things, and see where
that's why they're being so vague, and they're being so callous and dismissive when people bring up these subjects.
Established in the English jurisprudence already. You're not going to get past sex. The minute you put sex in any law of the law, you mean gender.
Yeah.
Right. When you mean gender, you mean the other 5 categories.
Yeah, because even on applications now, they say male, female, or other, and then you take other right on the side of it, what it
You gotta
is.
get around it. So the point that you need to sit down with you. I mean, you discuss it, have it open.
Yeah.
You can't do it, you're the back door.
Yes.
I mean, what is wrong with having an honest discussion?
Exactly. I don't have no problem. Even with the spousal citizenship article, we have to have an honest discussion on that.
No, we didn't. And they rammed it down our throats. And you know what happened? Today, they have madness. Just ask Fred Mitchell. Ask the people out there. They'll tell you how difficult it is to police what they have done earlier in this administration by giving these people these spousal permits and the willy-nilly approach to it, and how so many people have gone and married these foreign men, and they have one drillload of trouble, but they don't talk about it.
But I want to know why Parliament deceived the Commonwealth, deceived the Bahamian people by going in there and bringing this thing out, talking about this whole referenda is based on gender equality and 4 bills, when in essence only one bill, which is Bill 4, needs constitutional amendment.
And the point is,
One bill.
you have 3 different questions that could have been debated within the society, which was never debated.
Never debated. They don't want it. They don't want to debate it because they don't care about the first 3. Period. If they had cared about the first 3, they would have gone to Parliament, made the necessary legislation, put in the necessary policies, and move forward.
No.
This could have been done since 1967,
Yes, it's true.
73.
Listen, I appreciate your input. Thank you very kindly. It's quite interesting. Thank you much. You know, what's also interesting, Cleaver, is the fact that on the day of the vote, there was seemingly a number of people downtown. To me, it was surprising. I'm in media, and it was a surprise.
I think the politicians were surprised too.
No. I think that this is all concocted. I think that they had done some things to marshal certain people down there, because they've been calling it, BJ Knowledge had been calling it basically a seminal day. And you saw there were teachers who brought students down there and sat on the outside.
I don't know why they brought the students out there, because
Yeah, they couldn't get in the
I mean, right now they are grasping for straws because, you know, tricks are for kids. We are adults here now. We understand. We can think analytically. We can analyze things. We can do our research. And they're going to the length and breadth to drag anyone in this.
You know, what's interesting here too is
to
that
get sympathy.
even if the people have got it wrong, let's just say the people got it wrong. We don't understand what these boys are doing in the House of Assembly. They've done this. These bills all almost unanimously passed. Let's say they don't understand. They're saying the Bahamian people don't understand what they're doing, and we are dead wrong. Let's put that on the table. That we are dead wrong on the interpretation of Bill 4 and this conjecture that it may open the door to same-sex marriage. Let's just say that. Don't you think at this time, after the passage of the bill, there should be a consistent flow of information and dialogue coming out from the Constitutional Commission about what these bills are, and for clarification and for validation of what the parliamentarians would have done? Don't you think? I mean, do you hear it? Where is it? Where's it coming from?
No, you're getting
where's the constant you know, I mean, just inundation with the information coming out to support this righteous effort, this wonderful thing about equality, gender equality, this wonderful thing that needs to be embraced by the entire society. Where are the proponents? Why aren't they talking? Why aren't they capitalizing on such a wonderful landmark seminal vote that happened in Parliament that's supposed to skyrocket them to the next plateau?
But they were out there during the passage, right? There's only a handful of them.
Yeah, but I'm saying to you, if this is right and righteous, this is what you use as what they call stepping stone.
Right.
Get it done. Now, where's the debate? It's almost as if no one wants to talk about that because they're still not comfortable or still not sure that they can win an argument publicly on that. It's almost as if, let's not have any debate about that. Let's wait till we get closer to this and we can see if we can rally the crowd and get an emotional outburst to have people go and say, yes, yes, yes.
I believe they're out secretly still trying to get people to register. I think they're out there doing that.
I see.
I think they're trying. They know the importance of getting people out there. But it's going to be very interesting when you see the types of people who are going to come out. But Bahamians, you owe this to your children and generations yet unborn to go out there, because the way you see the Bahamas, if these 4 bills are passed successfully, the way we see the Bahamas, we'll see it no more. You'll see new Bahamians coming in, given citizenship just because of marriage, perhaps get a divorce later. They are Bahamians. I don't know if they're trying to populate these uninhabited islands with new Bahamians. I don't know.
They need a change of people, not.
But I'm sure that exactly. So I'm throwing that in the mix too.
Cleveland, they need a change of Bahamian people, not,
exactly.
not Bahamian politicians.
Not Bahamian politicians.
Let's move the people.
Exactly.
The politicians, because the politicians going to populate this place with new people.
Exactly.
Interesting. Let's run to the break. This is Hard Copy. You can give us a call at 325-0235 or 6. And yes, we're taking your text messages at 376-9234 and WhatsApp at 376-9234. We'll get to them and the calls on the line right after these messages.
People listen.
Welcome back to Hard Copy. We've got two sets of conversation going on. One on the actual WhatsApp. People are talking a lot about the government's actions on the beach and all that, and all kinds of stuff they're putting up there, saying that the government has brought in the Chinese to help them suppress the people, that kind of stuff, and the government ain't tripping up over nothing. It's clear that all the political leaders has formed the Chinese army against us. All kinds of stuff is on.
That's a big issue too, with these Chinese all over the place now, Steve.
But the thing is, people are concerned about this beach access.
Yes.
And so I've been keeping the focus on the gender equality bills and the beach access, because they're the two biggest things that threaten both sides of the divide, man and woman, and boy and girl, on issues that we ought to be focused on.
Steve, we are limited right now in terms of beach access. Particularly in Nassau, all of the beach access, most of them are gone.
Yeah, most of them are gone.
And
Graham called earlier, being provocative, saying that we need to make sure that Mr. Christie shows us the beach access to Life and Key and Old Fort Bay, so that we can know what is things. And
they're basically giving all the beach is to foreigners.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, this whole thing I said earlier today.
And that is why I have so much concern about this Bill 1 in respect to this thing. You know, it seems now that they want to just bring in these new behemoths now to populate that.
I was making the point earlier today that what has happened here with this beach access and this argument on Paradise Island, this may open the Pandora's box in such a way that all the others who have put up their own enclaves and have kept people out may find themselves now in jeopardy, because a couple of lawyers have gotten together. They're coming to see if they can reclaim the people's.
I mean, beaches. We need to. Whatever. I mean, not only that, Steve. What we need to do too. Some movement needs to be galvanized from the ground up, where we need to go to Parliament and force them to sign, to pass a bill into law where they lease our land as opposed to selling it going forward. This is imperative that we do this quickly, because they are just literally giving away all of the land to foreigners, and land is not reproductive. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Why are they doing that? And then in developed countries, they are leasing it. But we are literally just giving it away for pittance, $2 an acre in some cases, for a few 150, 200 yards.
Well, you know, this one, these people that pay Paradise Island Access, they're talking about an investment of $100 million and about 200 to 250 jobs. And so I suppose...
Where's the connection? Where's the correlation? 250 jobs.
Yeah, well,
versus all of the prime land.
You got to ask Christie.
And then they're building these big edifices, which never happened in the first place in, I think, Barbados or the Caymans. You build across the street. But you don't build on the beaches.
Yeah.
The beaches are for everybody.
Let's take these calls before we lose them. Hard Copy, how are you? Hi there. Hard Copy, how are you?
Stephen Kinney, how are you?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Good evening to you, yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Steve, I don't want to take away from your topic at hand, and I guess there are several that are happening currently. But I hope you see the play. As you were saying, your mark, you like to use that term. Mr. Christie, I used to think was just clueless. And I gotta say now, I call him a magician now, you know. And here's why I say that, Steve. Because while the masses at the moment is a very fickle people, you know that. While we're consumed and obsessed with the gender equality bill, Bambi is still in the state that it's been in.
Yes, sir.
Hamas still sits vacant.
Yes.
Crime is at an all-time high, Steve. And I don't want to sound like I'm preaching, but these are the things.
But you're right.
The Prime Minister attempted yesterday to confuse us with what is debt and what is the government's deficit.
He's a musician.
Did you get the magician here?
Sleight of hand.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
There's no weight with the Congress who I spoke with.
The beach access that you just mentioned there. These are all things that are currently happening in this town. And I hope you know that just before, I forgot to mention the fence is being erected of the ROI key.
Yes.
You know, the whole...
yeah, the condo.
Yeah, you just probably got erected, right?
Yeah, Yes, and my wife said it must have been erected 3 a.m. in the morning because we passed there late, and we passed there early. We just saw the poles. When we passed back there later that morning, my friend, the fence was all those miles.
See, but you understand what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, yeah, I understand.
Of all of these Chinese.
While we
working
are busy looking at some other areas, they are busy doing their little things. Nebulous they are, doing their little stuff and getting away with it. And we are consumed with the debate about how we can be kept off the beach and how we want to bring some other people to do their thing in our country under the disguise of it being gender equality.
But see, guess what, though? This is commonplace because under the cover of darkness, the gaming bill, and we're talking about a referendum, the people clearly spoke, right?
Yeah.
And under cover of darkness, you woke up, you went to bed, and let's say Monday, and Tuesday morning, then you woke up, what is the law?
Yes, it was law. But see, with this one, what I've been telling people, with these bills, they must go out and they must vote. See, people have been discouraged by that by saying, well, Christie can do what he wants to do anyhow. But no, this is a constitutional bill. This has a lot of ties to the Constitution, and it's binding. And people need to understand that because it's binding, they must go out as a means of go out with urgency and clear head and vote on the bill, and the results will be binding as what the results are. If you don't go, if you go out and you just play a game and say, well, we'll just do it any kind of how, whatever you vote will have to be binding. And so there's a difference because Christie done convoluted the whole last bill with the referendum saying that it's non-binding, it's a poll, it's a this, it's a that, and then on some cases he covered himself and said it's constitutional, but it's non-binding, all kinds of stuff. This one will have to go the whole 9 yards, and it will be binding because it's a constitutional referendum that we're dealing with for this gender equality, and people need to get up off their backsides and understand what time it is and go and vote wherever they want to vote. If they want to vote yes, go ahead. If you want to vote no, go ahead. But know that you have to go and vote. You can't stay home. And then this thing just, something happens and we are stuck with something that we didn't even participate in.
Steve, I feel you, right?
Yeah.
And I would love to, it's not that I'm disenfranchised, and I talk to folks, and I'm sure you do as well. Here's the thing with that, though, Steve. There are some things that speak to procedures, protocol, as far as our employment situation. In the news recently, we have to think about the work permits being ran. There is a clear and defined path of what can happen. You have folks that occupy jobs here where you have qualified payments. These are things that are in black and white. They're ignored. And I'm not saying that I'm necessarily disenfranchised, but you could kind of feel the temperature of the folks and that sentiment as far as, especially with this recent gambling referendum, that the fellas are going to do what it is they're going to do. But let me get into you. There is the community now, and there's been an industry of Bahamian men selling pretty much, and it's selling, not just giving it. It's not a love scenario. I want to marry this person. We've been doing that for years. Not because they want to move to the Bahamas. They get situated at the point. It's cutting that with a lot of people Graham mentioned, Old Fort there, like a lot of these folks come into town, they get married, they get their citizenship, then they go bring their real husband and children over from the place. That's real. It's happening now.
Yeah, we know. We know it's happening now.
It is. No. So that aspect of worrying about these new behemoths, it's not new behemoths now.
No, but that's why we've got real work to do, my friend, and you're breaking up. We've got real work to do to stop the bleeding. We can't just continue to add problems on top of problems. We've got to have some people in the seat of governance who are going to take care and look at the problems that we're now facing, not add to the confusion.
The real work happens when, say this, we need limits to where nobody gets to. You understand? The real work happens when we say that government, this respective system, has not and does not work for us. It's when we started to work. And see, guess what? Just like those individuals went ahead and protested, did you see the immediate effect? Did you see it?
If I saw the immediate effect?
When the individual protested there, the next day, in a matter of hours, there was the government scrambling. Mr. Wilson said that he was on the phone till midnight or 2 a.m.
Yes.
The prime minister's negotiating, so on and so forth. It was only a handful of behemoths.
Yeah.
The last, what are we, 380, 390,000, 400,000? Did you envision 5,000 of us, Steve?
Yeah.
And we're not using this thing as a catalyst like we should. I'm not talking about no nonsense.
No, I agree with you.
That's not what I mean. Could you, and Stephen, I told you this before, 2,500 Bahamians on a Wednesday morning out there in Rawson Square. No bottles, no drinking, no noise. 2,500 Bahamians and one lift of the things that are ailing and affecting us. What do you think would happen then, Stephen?
Yeah, they'll hear you. They'll hear you loud.
I don't know why we can't do it. 15,000, 20,000 Bahamians assembled down the street, and we should get.
You may see it in a short time.
I don't know what it's taking us so long. I mean, we have to do it quickly, because our land is they're really doing damage in terms of the way they are just giving away these lands, giving our land.
Everything happens in time, Cleveland. People, they will have enough when they have it. When you see the people have had enough, you will see how people react.
But I'm just looking at places like Haiti and Jamaica and some other places who just sat back and allow it to happen, and
that's why they're failed states.
Exactly.
See, the people didn't move, and so now they are failed states, and we are on the verge of becoming the same.
I saw in the business section where they said that I saw the headline, and I'm going to read it later, but they talk about the Bahamas in 10 years becoming a failed state.
Yeah, because there are steps to it, and certainly we believe we're closer to it now than we ever been. Everything is in question: our dollar, our management of governments,
we need to rise, Steve. All over the world, people are standing up and getting results.
Yeah.
We need to rise because time is fast approaching.
I tell you, this same thing on Paradise Island, as simple as this looks and sounds, this may give rise to a number of new things that may take shape in this country. Hi, Garvey, how are you?
Yes, Steve, how are you doing? Tiana Johnson, Chairman of the United Democratic Party.
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing okay, Steve. Just first, let me preface it by saying the age of believing is over. We're in the age of knowing.
Yeah.
Just on the referendum bill, Steve, one of the first things that we must realize, first let me say as a party, we do not support bill number 2 or bill number 4.
Right.
Let me come to that also. But here's the key for when we begin to speak about the Constitution. Whenever you hear someone speak of the Constitution, they reference law, policies, or procedures, so they are being deceptive. The Constitution is a document that stands on its own. The question after the implementation of a Constitution is, what laws does this Constitution allows? Which laws or rights this Constitution protects? And what laws this Constitution prohibits? Now, when you look at the Bahamas Constitution, there is no true prohibition in the sense of rights. We could cry about the armed forces and the age of the for the Senate, etc. But when it comes to your human rights, there's no prohibition. So when you begin to look at Article 1, 2, and 3, we'll be acting on for 1, 2, and 3. When they say there is a discrimination in the Constitution, you have to ask yourself, does the Constitution disallows 1, 2, or 3 from being into law? If they disallow, then if they're not disallowed, then there is no discrimination. And so what you've had those individuals in the Constitutional Committee do is use a mixture of words, like it is unequal in the Constitution. But if you ask them, and this is a question they will avoid, and this is a question I've asked them in person, to point out the discrimination. See, what they do, they have an argument saying, oh, well, it's not enshrined. Well, there was a reason for some being enshrined and some not being enshrined, which brings us to number 2. Number 2, if you go back to 1973, was a reason for that being there. And if you read it very carefully, you can actually see the fact that for the rights of a woman, the Bahamian man is nowhere involved in that. And let me just read that. It's a short piece right there. Any woman who, after the night of July 1973, marries a person, it doesn't say male or female, a person, who is or becomes a citizen of the Bahamas shall be entitled, provided she is still so married, upon making application in such manner as prescribed, and upon taking the oath of allegiance of such declaration as may be prescribed, to be registered as a citizen of the Bahamas. She needs no consent of the man.
The reason for that was in 1973, when this particular aspect of it was put into the Constitution, and it had to be there for a number of years to allow for the prescription of those individuals who may have decided who did not become so, such as being those as the British citizens, that eventually if they exercise their right to become citizens, they would transfer that right to their wives, or they won't transfer the right. The wife and children would automatically have that right. And there may be still some people who 40 years later that still may be alive and can exercise that. And so eventually that was to die a natural death. And so the question then becomes, what consent does a man has to give to a woman? It is not. It is an enshrined right as a protection for women, number 10 in our Constitution. It has no male attachment. And it is an enshrined right for a foreign woman. The government of the Bahamas now is asking us to give an enshrined right in the Constitution to a foreign man. And as such, if you ask yourself, when you have a discrimination in the Constitution, you must ask yourself, can these laws 1, 2, and 3? In fact, if you examine laws 1, 2, and 3, you will see that, the bills, you will see that in law, they are being exercised right now. And so the question one have to ask, if the Constitution discriminates against transferring of citizenship to your children, male or female, whether you're married or unmarried, if it is in law, then there is no discrimination because the Constitution never prohibited it. So there is no discrimination. So then comes the argument, oh, we want gender equality in the Constitution, written exactly for each as it is written for the other. But that's not how any Constitution is written. Exactly. That you have a Constitution with thousands and thousands of pages. Let me put also in context. The United States Constitution has been attempted to be modified 12,000 times since its institution. And that's one a week since 1776 of its founding. You'll find the same thing in England. You'll find this, not England, because England has a constitution, but you'll find Australia, Canada, and various. The point in that is that if a constitutional referendum fails, it's nothing to be ashamed of. 12,000 times the United States Constitution has been attempted, and it's only been modified 27 times in over 200 years. And so this whole aspect is that when the Constitution allows for the laws to take place, then guess what? There is no Constitution because there is no discrimination because it's not prohibited in law to put in place. And so, and just one other correction. When you said that Mr. Nico Grant, the Honorable Nico Grant, made that suggestion concerning the proviso, it was the Honorable Gregory Moss that brought it up in Parliament in 2014 during the actual debate concerning making sure it's included. And if you go to the actual constitutional amendment, you can see in number 25 where they said that these documents can lead to same-sex marriage. And it's funny that the two female individuals whose signatures appear on that document saying this can lead to same-sex marriage is now telling us verbally it cannot. And so we have to then begin to question, if they did not agree with this document, why did they sign it? And so what we need is an honest, open discussion as to where we want to go.
Who were those two ladies?
Huh?
Who were those two ladies?
The Honorable Judge and Ms. Duncanson. They appear on the news. Their signatures are on there where the recommendation of a proviso be to be included. Read number 25 inside of the Constitution. Inside of the constitutional recommendation, it says to make sure there is no doubt that we should put the bond male and female. And that's part of the constitutional recommendation. And so you have to then question, why are they now saying that, in my opinion, and we don't want your opinion because you have a professional opinion as the collective intelligence of the Constitutional Commission, stated unequivocally that putting the word sex could possibly lead to same-sex marriage, and as such, the proviso number 25, their recommendation should be added. And so they are now trying to distance themselves from the very recommendation. But yes, what I would really like, Mr. Steve McKinney, I would like for the media to ask Mr. Perry Gladstone Christie to say these things. See, what we have been doing is allowing Mr. Perry Gladstone Christie and his surrogates to say it. So why don't we have him pin his legacy to the legal opinion of the document that was handed to him, that was given to him in this committee. This committee, when it went to committee, only the cabinet can change it. And so let him pin his legacy or his legal expertise of 43 years. Let him say it. Don't allow Fitzgerald and Ruby Nordage and others to say it. Perry Gladstone Christie say it.
Let's get him on the record saying it.
Huh?
Let's get him on the record saying it.
free national movement. Those individuals, so their surrogates doesn't use the support. Let them say it, because what it simply says is this: if you are seeking to be leader of the country and you have no fundamental understanding of how the Constitution works, how could you then begin to make an argument about how you will bring law and order to a country? And so what you do is you have them have the surrogate speech, then they give you the gloss over summary. Let's get them on the record. State it, and all those seeking leadership in the country, have them state on the record that you have read the Constitution, you have read these documents, and you have read the constitutional recommendations, and you have chosen to ignore what the recommendations say. Because if you say that they were wrong in one aspect, then all of the recommendations should be taken under suspicion.
Yeah.
So we just need to have a real conversation as to what we want to do, how we want to do it. Because as it stands right now, the Constitution does not prohibit gay marriage. However, it is not enshrined, and if they pass the law and the people rise up, they can then be thrown out of office. And so what the government is trying to do, two things: have an external force make the decision for us, and at the same time, Terry Gladstone Christie is using this as a protection for his leadership, so he don't have the convention. He's using this so he doesn't have to discuss another 5,000 people getting out of school and no Bahama. He's using this to defray from the fact that 10% of our GDP that he said will be due to Bahama is not here. And so there's so many different things that this is allow us to move our self away from the discussion and simply move in. We are in fiscal crisis, but now we are talking about a play on words by those kind of intellectual gymnastics. So that's what
I appreciate it. Thanks for your call. Thank you very much. We talked about Ruby Ann Nottage earlier, and said that she had something to say about the importance of sex in Article 26. This was last year, was it, on the show?
Putting sex in 26 is to enshrine a principle of equality as a fundamental right. Please, I'll say it again. It's to enshrine the principle of equality as a fundamental right. Equality is not enshrined as a fundamental right. And it can only be so if we have in our Constitution, not in our ordinary law, but in our Constitution, clear definition of discrimination as saying it is unlawful to discriminate on the basis of sex. That means that you're saying it's a fundamental right that there must be equality of male and female. So the absence of sex in 26 does not enshrine that principle. It's still left out.
And you have to put it in, is what you're saying.
Right. We have to make sure, because even though we enjoy everything that you say we do, and we do, just to a great extent, women, I mean, it's not really just for women, you know. The discrimination can take place against men or against children. And because there has been no constitutional statement about the fundamental right being a right of equality of male and female, it can work against them.
That was Ruby Nottage, talking to me about a year ago, and drumming up support for why they wanted to put the word sex into Article 26. And since that time, the argument has changed a little bit. It is not as forcibly said these days. It's kind of like subtle. And it's a deafening silence as to the fact that they passed it and all this kind of stuff. Now, where's the big talk to validate, to quantify, if you will, what is being done here? So, you know,
they need the people now.
Your point was that they never needed it.
They never needed it.
And Article 26 does not need it. But she was saying this is something fundamental, that having equality, excuse me, is a fundamental thing. And that's how she sold it at that particular time. How do people see it now? This is the beginning of the debate.
I remember, I listened to that show, and I was saying, I was saying, Justice Ruby Ann Nottage must be thinking that Cleaver down come his daddy. For her to talk this nonsense. I had to been, she only could have been assuming that I was dead and had no voice, because what she was saying, most honorable justice, you are dead, dead wrong and totally dishonest.
Yeah.
Totally dishonest. And I'm not being disrespectful to her, you know, because I believe she is being disrespectful to me and to the Bahamian people who have common sense and intelligence and who understand exactly what, by inserting sex into this Article 26 means and what it will do. She disrespect me and many people like me.
You insult your intelligence.
Of course, you don't do that.
Hi, Copy, how you doing? Hi there. Yes, how you doing? Hi, Copy, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. McGinn?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
All is well, I'm listening to you.
Okay, so I have a question for you. With the ocean, with the basketball PL after St. John Street, Ocean Club, is it fair for them to say, okay, after 3 days, they can put the fence back up? I just want to be clear with that.
You asking me if it's fair for them to say they will put the fence back up?
Yeah, after that 30 years, I'm just curious.
After another what, 30 years?
30 days.
Yeah, 30 days, 30 days.
Oh, no, I mean, if they made an agreement with the Prime Minister, which is what they said, and the PM and those on the government side has asked for an extended 30 days to see what they could work out. If they don't work something out to the satisfaction of the owners of the property, I suppose then they will put up their fence because they would have not worked out anything to keep the fence down. The Prime Minister knows basically the ones who have 30 days, or well, let's see now, they probably got about 24 days left to go and make a petition either before the court, where there's a case in court now on this matter, or to make a declaration by law that, look, this particular area is an area of a right of access to, and it cannot be sold. It cannot be removed. It cannot be replaced. It has to remain because it has uninterrupted tenure of access for the Bahamian people all these years, and it has never been advertised to be closed at any one given time by anyone who supposedly owns it since the time that they got it in 2014, which is about 2 years ago in June. So the point is, Christie and those are now in a position where they can move quickly if they are being advised by their lawyers in the Attorney General's office to make sure that this whole thing will ride out in favor of the Bahamian people. But I don't know if they're that interested. I don't know if they are compromised. I don't know if they are complicit in the whole matter.
They're compromised.
They're compromised and complicit. You know,
well,
because,
if they are,
if they are,
expect your fence to go back up in the next 24 days, and for it to be challenged again, and for people to be even intimidated by going to PI. But I don't believe that the people are intimidated because they are galvanizing and talking about what's going to happen and how they plan to make it happen. Because if it is a right for the Bahamian people, they have a right to protest there. They also have a right to get access in that particular space. And that's all they did. They didn't break down. If they meant any nasty intent, they would have broken up other things on PI. They would have broken down the other fence on the other part of the property. They only wanted to get to the beach, where the fence was now prohibiting them from getting to the beach because it was an impediment. It was in the way of public access. And the question has to be asked, if it's public access, then how could it be put as private property? Somebody must have been trespassing for it to be on public property to put up a fence.
You know, I mean,
Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Well, I'm asking that too, because they decided to put the fence up now. I mean, they said they gave Atlantis, after what they give Atlantis time and say, okay, get up such a result. Why I'm asking this question, I'm an employee also, and what are they going to use the property for? You don't know. I don't even know.
What they're going to use the property for? They're supposed to be doing some new development or adding on to their development that will create another 200 jobs. Whatever that development is, I don't know if it's another hotel, I don't know what it is. All I know is that that's what they're supposed to be doing. But they cannot do that with all of that property, which is inclusive of a public access area, which is as of a right for Bahamians to be able to have access to it. So all they have to do is be smart and not greedy and go from the point where the access ends.
it's only about what, 15 feet.
No, 25 feet.
25 feet.
25 feet of that. Not a very large area.
Steve, what I'm not hearing too is that when you see a government and an investor go to this extreme and to this extent,
Yeah, something isn't right.
I'm not hearing the real conversation, and I know a lot of things have been happening out there on that beach.
Mhm.
But a lot of things happen, don't you right now? A lot of people, it's going to come to the bucket very, very soon.
But my point is, it has gotten so bad until the U.S. Embassy issued an advisory.
Mhm.
I don't know whether all of these things
Are connected?
but it warrants having a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
It warrants having a discussion. Let's look at the water sport business. The water sport business could be a very lucrative business. But like the water sport business, like the jitneys, like many other areas,
Regulation.
it never had proper regulation.
Exactly.
And as a result, we, the Bahamian people, are paying a price for it.
Let me ask you, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
But just say it didn't have regulations. Those who are in that type of business should have regulated themselves in a responsible way. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But what is happening, what all of those things that allegedly happen and what is happening, and you hear all sorts of reports. And I don't want no one to believe that we have about 30,000 Americans living right here in the Bahamas. Okay? Some of these people work here, they move around. They're not all tourists. And they access those beaches as well. And whatever goes on, they are also privy to see and hear. And they are about to make some big changes, it seems. And they don't want these individuals. I don't know whether the hotel will take over the water sport business or whether or not these new investors will take over the water sport business. But the water sport business, like any other business, you go to a restaurant or you do a surrey ride or you do a scooter rental, it should have been an enjoyable experience. People come here for several reasons. Two of the primary reasons they come here for is rest and relaxation, and also to experience our culture.
Yeah.
They didn't come here to have their 14-year-old kids, have their 14-year-old children, kids being allegedly gang rape and all of these other things. Some serious things were happening out there. And I believe it's a direct correlation to what they really want to do, but they're not being honest with us. The government wasn't being upfront with us, and they went ahead and removed the in the second drawing, which was drawn in June of 2014. They removed that. They removed the act, the easeway, and they removed it, and they just don't simply want these people on the beach. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, well, listen, let me ask you, do you have insight that the fence will go back up after the 24 days pass now?
You know what I mean, Mr. McGinn?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I think it's going to go back up. Like I said again, I'm going to call me on the radio. I'm an employee of Building Club, and I work on the beach. And they've been told some very nasty things going to happen. I don't feel it really right now. I came to you last week to sit down with you, but I guess one day you give me a chance to speak with you. I have an appointment with you.
You say you had an appointment, I didn't get to see.
No, I said I came to you last week.
Oh.
We wanted to sit down with you, but I know you're very busy, so I say I left my number with you with the secretary.
Okay.
And I think you called about.
Okay, well, if I didn't get it, I would not have, but I
know.
would want to talk with you about it, so feel free to give me a call shortly after the show today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you kindly, all right. Okay. All right. Hard copy, how you doing?
Well, good evening, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
You're a guest.
Good afternoon.
Right, I just had a quick comment. I heard you played the Justice Knowledge regarding the equal rights agenda and the fact that she's saying the female has the fundamental rights.
Yeah, what do you make of that?
Pardon?
What do you make of it?
Well, I always be guided by the Holy Spirit and be guided by God. And yet, because in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, the scripture says, "But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is a man, and the head of Christ is God." So there's a divine order in place there. So according to the scriptures, we can't be challenging that to believe that's exactly where, well, according to God, that's where we're going wrong. I know, according to the Bible as well, we all, human beings, right? As human beings, male, female, the LGBT community, we all have a right to human rights. When I say that, I mean, they have a right to be protected, to be safe. You shouldn't just jump there or shoot.
No, and if you do, you'll get locked up and go to jail.
Yes.
Yeah, so that right, everybody equally has that. Similarly, the man should not beat up on his wife and vice versa. We all have to.
So is this some special right that she's talking about with the fundamental right?
Yes.
Because fundamental rights is just what you just expressed just now, and that's there already.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yes, I see. That's because the scripture says the earth is the Lord, and its fullness thereof, and everything that dwells in it. Now remember with Sodom and Gomorrah, the Lord really did not want to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. But since the earth belongs to him, including this Bahamas here, if he finds that the stench of sin on the land is too much for him, he can make his decision to say, you know what, I am going to just take that place down, that Bahamas, depending on what we decide to do spiritually in this country, the direction we want to take. And for those of us who want to try to do well abide by the Lord, because we're here, we might be, we might go down with it. Because remember now, before he destroyed the Sodom and Gomorrah, because he could not find enough persons who wanted to uphold his standards, he had to tell the Lord, y'all come out, get out, because I'm getting ready to burn that place down. If y'all are there, you're going to get it. For those people, for those persons who say, oh, it's okay with the gays, y'all are gayophobia, why y'all scared you can catch gays, these type of comments that I've heard thrown around on the radio station. We have to be very careful with that, because, like I said, if God wants to put his hand strong on this country, because, if we decide to promote this type of agenda in this country, we don't want the innocent to be coming down with the guilty, who do not want to follow the pathway.
Yeah, well, you're doing the right thing, sister. You're doing the right thing, sister. Hold up that banner, because not many Christians are holding up the banner today. Christians have become cowards in many regards. They've all played like they don't know anything about this. I get a bunch of text messages asking me, what has happened to Mario Moxie? What has happened to this one? What has happened to the other one? Why can't we hear from them? How come the denominational faith churches are making the statements that seem to be pro these bills, and the people don't understand what's happening? Then why shouldn't the church, as one, have their own version of town meetings to inform people as to why they ought to support these bills? And don't just preach it from the pulpit. Have town meetings. They're calling on Bishop Pinder, Patrick Pinder of the Catholic Church, to have town meetings to inform people why they ought to do it. They're calling on Lache Boyd from the Anglican Church to call town meetings and inform the people, since the journalists and the talk show hosts are so ignorant and they don't know what they're talking about, and since the judiciary and persons of the legal minds don't know what they're talking about, that this will open the door for same-sex marriage, that they should themselves get involved and make sure that a bill goes through by calling the people into a town meeting and explaining to them why it's okay to do what they say and voting for these bills in a referendum. So that's what they call, I will post these things on Facebook tonight, of course. That's what people are saying. I didn't read a lot of them today, but people are kind of like angry and turned off from some of the churches. I can tell you that. And you don't hear anybody calling to defend the church either and saying, well, the church is right, I agree with the church. How come no one has called any show and says, I agree with the Catholic bishop, I agree with Lache Boyd, I agree with Neil Ellis, I agree with these people? How come? Is it just ignorance that they don't know to say that? I mean, see, these are things that we've got to consider.
What I'm hearing, Steve, too, people are embarrassed. People are shocked to hear who is advocating for these things. They're shocked.
Well, I'm sure that many of these men, these learned men of God, would have been advised by their advisors as to how they should speak to this matter. That's what I'm thinking. And based upon what they've been advised, most people have got it wrong, and they have it right. And so they've advised that in the spirit of inclusion and compassion and love, do it. Let everybody be a part of equality. See, that's the word. See, when you look at that word equality, you want anybody with common sense to say, you know something, you can't be biased. You can't just be one-sided. You can't be unfair. Everybody must be equal. So the word equality inside there brings up a whole lot of stuff, and I believe that those men, not speaking for them, not trying to defend them, they're capable of defending themselves, but I believe that those men, these men who have made these statements, may have been advised that based upon the research and the information and the intention of this constitutional committee, this commission, putting these bills before the parliament in its present context, okay, that this is with good research, that is the right thing to do, and so they say go ahead and endorse it.
No, I'm not going to call them the Constitution Commission anymore. That's what you would call the Propaganda Commission. They are all over the place spreading propaganda. And justice, let's use law. She can speak, use a legal mind. Don't use propaganda to make your point. You just don't do that. Let's bring it on and have an honest discussion as to exactly where you all want to go. And that's all we're asking, Yeah. That's all we are asking. Let's have an honest discussion as to where we want to go. But when you're talking these nonsense where these cases have already been won, where people took went as high as the Privy Council and won case based on being discriminated against because of sex and gender, but you're making it seem as if that we don't have Google, we don't have no internet, we don't understand these things, and we're all illiterate.
Here's what somebody is saying too. Hi, Steve. The majority of pastors are not speaking because they have a lot of homosexuals in high places, and they don't want to disturb their tithe and offering. Remember, you cannot serve God and money. This person says, judgment shall begin in the house of the Lord. Now I see why God said this. And this person is saying this is his view legitimately as to why they speak the way they speak or why they can't speak at all. And so that's quite interesting. But again, I believe that the church is losing its salt, you see, and I hate to categorize the entire church, but it is very difficult. I sit there on Fridays and I tell people, make sure go to church on Sunday, worship at your place, to find yourself and to get the spirituality that you need to focus on the right morals of the country. And so I advise people all the time to go to church. So I support churches. But what has happened in recent times is that the church has been in the bosom of poor behavior. The church, and not in a good way, the church has been in the bosom of what appears to be immorality, gambling and corruption. The church, people say, man, they were out there campaigning for the numbers. See, so when that starts to happen, even though it may have just been a pastor who has a right to do what he feels like, but as a result of doing that, what has happened there, people have categorized the church in this negative way. And over the years, we've heard this particular pastor got a bus plate, this particular pastor got property. So they don't look and hear what these guys are saying anymore because they believe they're all compromised, that they've lost their salt, that they don't have what it takes. That's a serious and awful thing in a country that believes in the supremacy of God, it's a serious thing. It can help to break down our society.
It is breaking down our society because
don't believe in the church anymore.
Where do you go to?
Yeah, if they don't believe in the church anymore, you can see more people doing a lot of crazy stuff in this town.
Yeah, because right now we really need to be as spiritually connected as we could possibly be. But then where do you go to when you find it's a small place? And about these individuals who have been compromised, either getting a taxi plate here, like you say, a Crown Land, this place, JP, this place. And we seen it, and as a result, we're paying a price for it. But the sad reality is, and it goes right back to that portion of scripture which states that, what shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall you give in exchange? When you look at some of these individuals and see what they have given in exchange for their soul, I mean, I'm too old now to be compromised. You can't get me no more. I'm more concerned right now, Mr. McKinney and the Bahamas, about my soul. My soul is more important to me right now has done the biggest room that you could possibly think of diamonds. I choose protecting my soul over the biggest room of diamonds on this and many other issues.
You can't carry nothing with you.
You can't.
All the wealth that you could amass, you can't carry anything with you. And you're going to leave it right here. All this fight for property and this and the next thing, all this money, all these billions of dollars in the Swiss bank account, all these people that you've stood on and walked over, and you can't carry it with you.
So what is this all? So what is this all about? And the church, this is the type of message the church should be preaching.
Yeah, well, we don't get it anymore. We get a prosperity gospel as a steady diet, and money is a serious thing.
They talk about. Let me leave with this one, Mr. McKinney. They talk about Christ, right? And how they love Jesus and all of this other thing. But I need to tell the demon people a story about this Jesus that they claim that they love. Because I know they say the same thing about me. Because they say, well, don't listen to Cleveland. Cleveland broke. He ain't get no money. He ain't get this. He ain't get no family connection. Don't pay him no mind. Discard what he's saying. But this Jesus that they claim that they love so much, he healed the sick. He gave sight to the blind. He even stepped in and saved the woman who was committing adultery. He saved the thief on the cross, and is willing to do the same thing for the murderer. This same Jesus, you know what his friends did to him? They lied on him. They crucified him. This Jesus was so broke, Mr. McKinney, that they had to bury him in a borrowed tomb. But thousands of years after, this same Jesus, at the sound of his name, every knee shall bow and every tongue confess that he is Lord. The same broke Jesus who they crucified. So I don't mind the talk, what they say. It don't matter to me no more now. What is more important to me, my daughter, she indicated to me, she said, Daddy, and I'm not talking your business, but she said to me that, look, when I go off to pursue my master's, I'm not coming back to the Bahamas. I'm going. Mm-hmm. I guess she was waiting for me to respond. And, well, what is here, Daddy? What is here? Mm-hmm. This is how the young people are thinking.
Yeah, they're not coming back. That's a fact.
And I got to fight. Because this Bahamas, this is the envy of the world.
If we want our children to come back, we've got to get in there, roll up our sleeves, and clean up the country.
You got to.
Yeah.
You can't sit back any longer and allow this type thing to happen where these new people come in and enjoy. You ask any tourist, you ask any expatriate, they'll tell you the Bahamas is a beautiful place, but the only people who don't seem to understand this are the Bahamians. The Haitians understand it, Jamaicans, everyone else, the Chinese. They've been given from the point straight down to Port-au-Ski. And we are sitting back and allowing this thing to happen, and we are not rising up. We've got to protect this country for generations yet unborn.
Well, we're losing the battle, and that's one of the reasons why there's great talk these days about failed state, about a failed people, about a country that's dying, because you cannot live if you're losing your lifeline, which is your young people. I've got a neighbor who was just telling my family today that, a wonderful daughter who was an all-A student here in the province, has gone to college, she's finished now. And her mom is a wonderful, ordinary woman, very poor. And her daughter has told her that she's not coming back. She's finished over there. She's got her degree, and young girl, but there's nothing for her to come back. Now, she's already lost a son like that, gone and ain't come back, and her daughter gone and ain't come back. So her thing is now, what is it for her? What is her purpose now? Her two kids gone, they ain't come back. They can't be a part of the system. She's just one of hundreds, if not thousands of Bahamians who are sending their kids off, and they're not coming back. There's nothing to come back to. It seems like nobody cares about that. But the reality is going to come in. Since they're not coming back, some people plan to populate this country with other people.
Exactly.
Who may not be bringing they have no stake in the game, no skin in the game, and they could care less what really happens to a country that you and I grew up in
that we knew to be a beautiful country of rules and laws, regulations, traditions, and love and peace. What we have here now is a skeletal remain of something that was great. We have the decaying body, what's left of it, of a country that was once great. And that's why it is very important that people begin to internalize and look at, not just row, not just say something negative because you feel like being nasty to the government. No, but to look at it, to really analyze what is going on, and then ask yourself the question, how am I going to help to change what is around me? The good thing is today, I was also talking with a preacher who went off some 22, 23 years ago, and he has been preaching a Bahamian in the United States. His show comes live on this station every Sunday in the morning. Dr. Julian Russell, he played basketball in the Prairie. So he's been preaching away for a long time. He's thinking about returning home. So a lot of work that has to be done. I had a conversation with him today, and he sees the work that has to be done, but he's not about to try to change the whole world. He's going to do his part, one community at a time. And I found that heartwarming. I didn't say that to him, but I found it heartwarming that he's coming back to do stuff. You know why that's important? Because we're losing too many of our people. They're going and they're not even looking back. There's nothing to look back for. Young people can't get a break. A lady called me this week on the show. She talked about how what is here for us young people can't get a break. She poured her heart to me. You probably heard that call. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, yeah, what is there? You know, there's so many people now who are afraid to let their children go off to school because they know they ain't coming back. And they need them to come back, but there's nothing that compels them to come back to this, this rock, this barren rock.
Just this morning, a business was advertising for 80 jobs. 1,000 Bahamians showed up for 80 jobs.
Yeah, I saw that.
And no politician, I don't see no state of emergency address coming from the Prime Minister as to exactly what we need to do. They are all about now getting ready now to do what?
The people are on their own. See, the people realize something, you know. They're on their own. And because they're on their own, anything goes. You need to understand.
Scores of people are losing their homes. And business as usual. They're running around in coat suit with chauffeur-driven air conditioning, getting fat. I mean, fat.
They can't also.
I don't understand what's going on, you know, but they get extremely fat, you know, but we're in problems, and we as Bahamians, we need to fight. And we need to find it necessary to fight, knowing for a fact that we shall win, because we are confident in the victory of good over evil.
No
and
question,
God bless the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
I appreciate it, Cleveland. Thanks for stopping by today. We covered some ground, not with all the greatest clarity of getting anything done, but the debate rages on this gender equality thing, and the debate will in fact increase on this whole thing about beach access. It may seem like two small matters for a lot of people. It may seem even like a distraction that we should talk more about the things that we've been talking about for the last 4 years in this country. And no mortgage relief, a terrible situation with no jobs, unemployment high. They hear you. They have heard they can do nothing about it. No Bahama. They can do nothing about it. Everything that we have told you on hard copy has turned out to be absolutely factual and true. There's nothing they can do about it. All that's happening here now is that people are in a situation of wait and being patient, because the day is coming when the small man will have the big stick, and that is all that people can do. There's nothing else happening. What do we have to look forward to tomorrow? What do we have to look forward to? Is there any promise in the air that we're going to change the dynamics of this country? There's none. You know it, and I know it. You just thank God for another day, and another dollar, and another plate of food, because that is our lot. And while we ought to be appreciative, we ought to be able to be more hopeful. Someone said to me, anybody without hope really is a hopeless person and a dead person. Man needs hope. He has to have hope to look forward to something. He has to have it. If you don't have it,
that all through the referendum, help and hope.
He has
they
to have
preach
hope.
it.
But we have little hope
with
the present situation, we need to have some serious dynamics.
And the sad reality is, Mr. McKinney, this thing happened so quickly to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
From 1967 to now,
Deterioration, 40 years,
40 years, three
one generation
leaders.
over.
And this is where we are. This is where we are at today, after they took over.
Well,
as leaders.
unless you get some new people to rise up, people who, as I said yesterday on the show, Cleveland is going to take people who know. We've got to take the country the democratic way, and we've just got to work hard to rebuild the country, to rebuild the walls. But don't expect any reward. Don't look for no legacy. What we have to do is an urgent work to repair the breaches that we have, and we get out of the way, and hopefully train some people for the next lot that's coming along to continue to work. But that's what has to happen now. This is a state of emergency. We have to find some good men to come together, and some good women to come together and to rebuild the walls of this country.
Other people are doing it all over the world.
That's
Other
what you have
people
to
are
do.
doing it.
And
They're
don't
saying
expect no rewards. Rebuild the place and get out of the way, because we only have time to fix it back the way it's supposed to be. We ain't have no time for no pat on the back, no big salary, no fancy car, no roll up your sleeves and fix this country. We're in the period of reconstruction. That's what has to happen now, you know.
That's according to Dr. Miles Monroe.
Yeah.
He said it.
Anyway, let me just end the show today with a little piece from Dr. Miles Monroe. Can we do that? Can we do that, Mr. Producer? Do we have time to do that? There's one that I wanted to just... Let's play the one with Miles Monroe on Bill 4.
Meeting, sitting in the Prime Minister's office with the leader of the opposition and his team, as well, the Prime Minister. And my document was the foundation, when I say I'm talking the document of the team, was the foundation of the meeting. And I want the public to know that we are actively involved in this process. And we were the ones who recommended that the word sex was not sufficient. Our revised questions, word to word, is what was used. And we said that we demand that the word male and female be added. I want to say today that, we had no intention of dealing with, LGBT. This to me was not even an issue for us. Our concern was that we didn't want anything to be snuck in, as in, the previous experience. And so we did bring up the issue of making sure to protect that word and make sure that the definition of it was succinct, was specific in reference to male and female and nothing else. In our document that is available to anyone online, we specifically stated that there's, the definition that we have for sex is specifically male and female. And that's referring to, of course, what we consider to be specific. What came out of this, of course, is all this, the contributions were being made by other people. And of course, we know the comments. I felt it was necessary after activists began to become public. I lived in America for 8 years, and I saw the danger of allowing 10% to speak without being answered by the 90%. It's very dangerous. And also, volume sometimes is defined as big, and that's not true. The louder you talk doesn't mean that you are big. I think you used the point, the reference earlier. You said that there's a big group of people. There isn't a big group of people involved in certain behaviors. Very small group. But because they speak loud and always in the papers, and maybe even have controversies that work with them, if you don't speak up, they sound big. They are not big. Let me just state something very clearly for everyone here today. Everyone is entitled as a citizen to the protection of their rights under the Constitution. I want to make that clear. We do not advocate or agree to the creation of additional special rights like same-sex marriage or sexual orientation. I think it's important for me to interject right now that the principle of having equality between male and female is one we loudly supported in our recommendation. But that to me is not the issue here. I think we need to be careful to allow people to use these opportunities to interject things that shouldn't be there. And that's my concern.
Miles Monroe.
Totally different from what the Minister Fitzgerald would have said.
He said that, no, he says that he wanted to have this whole thing of sex to be very, very clear, with male and female.
Right.
And that's what the committee recommended. What Jerome said was that they did exactly what Miles Monroe recommended, meaning that that's what the committee of Miles Monroe recommended, that they must have the word, if they're going to put sex, they cannot just put sex.
Right.
They cannot just say sex because it's left to other interpretations. He wanted them to put specifically male and female, which the new Bill 4 is talking about it being male and female and not just sex. And so here's how the bill reads. The bill seeks to eliminate gender discrimination by inserting the word sex into Article 26 of the Constitution to make it unconstitutional to discriminate against anyone on the basis of them being male or female. So that's how it frames up. And so they are believing that based on this particular recommendation, which was initially forwarded by the Constitutional Committee from Miles Monroe, that they would have nailed it, that they have it. So since Miles Monroe would have been a proponent of this, this is what it is, and there's nothing to argue about. And that's what the committee, that's what Jerome Fitzgerald was saying when he, in fact, was making his presentation inside the House of Assembly. This, though, has been challenged.
Yeah,
that's
what they want, you know, that's what they wanted, right?
Yeah. Well, this has been challenged, but if you heard the last part of that clip just now, you heard Dr. Monroe say inside that this is good that it's done this way so that you can hear where people are coming from.
Right.
Or what you really want.
So this was
interpreted.
Right. But I'm sure had Dr. Monroe been living today, that discussion would have already been advanced so far. He would have had some reservations with that, because that definitely would have opened the door. And it's so convoluted. It isn't making much sense. It's causing a lot of confusion.
The key is that it's been inserted into Article 26 as a means of discrimination. And so because of that, this is a big concern. It seems like there's a compromise in a way on part of how this reads, but it also seems as if it is still a matter that was almost a setup to see where they would go, to see if they would actually do this like this.
Oh, I see.
Or if they would leave it vague, ambiguity, I suppose, just so that others can still have a way of interpreting and challenging it.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why you saw the people on Bay Street who went out there, the transgender and all that, they feel something about this. Do you suppose that they'll be celebrating this if this was a total exclusion of them to the point where they don't have an in to challenge?
No, that's sex. They would basically they've been included by the word sex. You know, but the thing about it is we need to have an honest discussion as to where we want to go and what makeup we want to the Bahamas to look like. And I mean, that's what mature countries do. But then on the other hand, we cannot have it because many people, many citizens never even seen the Constitution. So it's totally unfair to bring this constitutional matter to the people when many of them haven't even seen it. And it shouldn't have even started like that. It should have been from the ground up, where the people
call for it.
Call for it, you know, but this is so convoluted, and the people have to rise up and vote no, because this really don't have anything to do with Perry Christie. He's about 76, 75.
No, he's not that old. Perry Christie's about 72, 73, somewhere around there.
All right, then.
But maybe 74 by the time of the election.
But my point is, he shouldn't even be bringing this. He should be moving on now in his twilight years. But it just goes to show that our generation have failed. Because in a way, we're supposed to still be governed by that generation who was there from the 70s.
Yeah. I hear your point, Cleaver. It's interesting that we played a note of that Miles Monroe. I'm sure you'll get a lot of requests for it. And it will become the basis of the new debate. In this debate about gender equality, that's on the table, Article 4. Anyway, that's it for us. We've got to run. Thank you very much for being here today. We're going to pick it up with John Bostrom tomorrow. And later on in the week, we'll have some other people on to talk along these lines. Let's go home, Mr. Producer. You can get all the actual the actual text messages
and the WhatsApp messages today on what people are saying on our Facebook page. Just go to Facebook, Hard Copy at Facebook, and you'll see them posted there in a short time from now. And we thank you very much for your participation. Today's show has been brought to you by NIB, Nassau Motor Company, Commonwealth Bank, Bahamas